Se vino.
Continúan las labores de rescate en el edificio Petunia, en la primera transversal de los Palos Grandes con primera avenida, casi al lado de Migas.
Rescuers are searching through rubble in a rush to save lives after two powerful earthquakes struck Venezuela near the capital, killing at least 235 people and injuring more than 1,500. In Caracas and the nearby coastal city of La Guaira, people could be heard calling for help from under the debris of collapsed buildings. The first 7.2 magnitude quake was followed seconds later by an even stronger 7.5 magnitude 1, according to the US Geological Survey, USGS, with both occurring close to the surface, making destruction more severe. Many more people are feared dead, with others left homeless or too afraid to stay in damaged, unsafe buildings, sleeping in the streets after the disaster. The earthquake struck at 18:04 local time, 22:04 Greenwich Mean Time, on Wednesday, a national holiday in Venezuela, meaning more people would have been at home than on a normal weekday. Both quakes were shallow. The first centered 20.3 kilometers below the surface, and the second at a depth of 10 kilometers, according to USGS. Jorge Rodriguez, the president of Venezuela's National Assembly, reported on Thursday that the death toll had risen after the country's interim president Delcy Rodriguez declared a state of emergency. Several countries have pledged to help the rescue efforts, with the U.S. promising £150 million in aid. The U.S. military is sending transport ships and aircraft to support search and rescue teams and rapid relief operations, it said in a statement. Jorge Rodriguez said 250 buildings had been damaged or lost, mostly in La Guaira, where the BBC verified footage of a 10-story hotel reduced to rubble. On Thursday, people were searching for loved ones there. Juan Ortiz told the BBC one of his close friends had been confirmed dead, another was believed to be under the rubble, and around 20 people he knew who live in the coastal area were missing. I'm in shock and confusion and frustrated that I can't help, the medical student in Caracas said. Buildings were also brought down in the capital, Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello said, with Trujillo, Yaracuy, Carabobo, Aragua and Miranda also affected. Mayor Gustavo Duque of Chacao, which forms part of the greater metropolitan area of Caracas, said outside one ruined building on Thursday that 11 people had died there and 23 had been rescued. In a video update posted on social media, he said the team was trying to clear the rubble so that specialists could go in to reach people who are hopefully still alive. We're trying to rescue as many people alive as possible, he said. Venezuela's main international airport in Maiquetía, on the outskirts of Caracas, has been closed due to serious damage, the country's interim president said. Video from inside the terminal showed dust and debris falling from the ceiling. About 250 kilometers, 155 miles, northwest of Caracas, another verified video showed a multi-storey building, reportedly a hotel, collapsed in Tucacas on the coast. Aftershocks have continued to ripple through the area, with at least 30 recorded after the two earthquakes, Delcy Rodriguez told state-run television channel Venezolana de Televisión. It is likely the death toll will rise further. The USGS said high casualties and extensive damage are probable, and the disaster is likely widespread. It estimated there was a 42% chance of more than 10,000 deaths and a 33% chance of more than 100,000 as a result of the earthquakes, based on a range of factors, including previous, similar quakes and the size of the nearby population. These figures were issued to help the emergency response and are not an exact prediction. They were calculated based on previous earthquakes with similar characteristics, as well and other factors such as the size and depth of each quake. Other elements play into the potential injuries and deaths, including the quality of the buildings and the time of day the quakes hit. Venezuela lies over the meeting point of two tectonic plates, and the earthquakes were likely caused by the sudden release of friction between them. Caracas-based journalist Luis Hernandez told BBC Newsday that assessing the true scale of the damage would be difficult, with power cuts and internet failures complicating the situation. Due to the economic crisis in the country, it is very difficult for us to assess, he said. Cabello told VTV that the Altamira and Los Palos Grandes neighborhoods of Caracas were the worst hit. The two were also among the worst affected in 1967, when the last major earthquake to hit the Venezuelan capital struck, killing 200 people. The second earthquake is the strongest to hit Venezuela since 1900, USGS records show. It's the strongest quake I've ever felt in my life, said BBC Mundo's Nicole Colster. Colster, who lives on the 7th floor of an apartment building in Los Palos Grandes, added, "It was so strong that I thought the building was going to fall on top of me." Colombians reportedly felt the earthquake hundreds of kilometers away in the capital, Bogotá. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado wrote on X, "My heart, my infinite embrace, and my prayers are with every Venezuelan home in these hours of anguish." The disaster serves as the first test of Venezuela's new relationship with the U.S. since President Donald Trump ordered the capture of its president Nicolas Maduro in January. Trump said he had instructed his government to get ready to move quickly. The two major earthquakes that just hit the great people of Venezuela are both massive in scale and have left a devastating number of deaths, he wrote on Truth Social. The U.S. stands ready, willing and able to help, he added. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. was immediately deploying search and rescue teams, medical resources, and humanitarian assistance. The Trump administration has sought to reshape relations with Venezuela since the seizure of Maduro, a longtime critic of the U.S., and early on, through its support behind his former lieutenant Delcy Rodriguez. Meanwhile, the injured were pulled out of the rubble covered in dust and blood, among them children and animals. Venezuelan state TV showed dramatic images of rescues, including a woman who was trapped under a cement slab, only a barefoot poking out before crews managed to get her out alive. But few government search teams were seen outside Caracas. In the capital, Dayana Delgado, mother of 3 children, asked where the heavy machinery was that government officials had promised, pointing out that neighbors were the ones digging through the rubble. "I want to know where my child is, if he's trapped or in a shelter," she said of her 8-year-old son who was missing. One mother sobbed and collapsed in grief as the bodies of her 3- and 10-year-old children were wrapped in blankets and carried away. Others screamed the names of missing loved ones. Some stood in silent shock. The coastal region of La Guaira, north of the capital Caracas, suffered some of the heaviest damage and casualties. The country's main airport is there and was closed due to damage, complicating aid efforts. Retired schoolteacher Juan Alberto Mendaño climbed through wreckage in La Guaira and passed a dead body when he spotted a woman who was trapped and signaling with her hand for help. "May God rescue her as quickly as possible," said Mendaño. "When we heard the scream, there was nothing we could do." During the quakes, people ran from swaying buildings. Many were stunned Thursday morning as they saw buildings reduced to skeletons, furniture hanging out of windows and helicopters circling overhead. In La Guaira, Cristian Carreño stared at his charred apartment building tilting precariously to one side. "I lost everything," he said. "There are people still inside, I imagine, that couldn't get out. It's incredibly devastating." In downtown Caracas, hundreds spent the night huddled in parks, parking lots, and other open spaces. "We were afraid the buildings would collapse on us," said Maria Cristina Diaz, a 41-year-old janitor. "My mother, my daughter, and I were cold. We didn't sleep a wink." Parts of the capital lost power and cell phone service, Rodriguez said. "Subway services were suspended and natural gas was shut off," she said. Classes will also be canceled for several days, and the Ministry of Education said some school buildings would be used as shelters and donation centers. Families began posting missing person flyers with photos of loved ones, while others shared handwritten lists of names as they searched for loved ones. Venezuelans living abroad struggled to make contact with relatives. Shortly after, United Nations officials in Venezuela called on the government to lift social media restrictions so people can get potentially life-saving information, Venezuelans in the country were able to access X. The site had been blocked by Maduro since August 2024 in an attempt to suppress the exchange of information among those who rejected his claim of victory in the July presidential election. Rodriguez declared a state of emergency in an address to the nation late Wednesday. She said the government was creating a $200 million reconstruction fund for damaged hospitals and homes. Leaders from Mexico, Qatar, Brazil, Spain, Portugal, Canada vowed to send aid. A number of shipments were already on the way Thursday. Aid included emergency and military personnel, canine and search teams, medical supplies, water purifiers, airplanes, and drones. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who spoke to Rodriguez following the quake, said the United States was immediately deploying search and rescue teams, medical resources, other assistance, though he acknowledged the closure of Venezuela's main airport created logistical challenges. "We have a whole-of-government response. It'll be big, it'll be fast, and it'll be effective," Rubio said.